Banker's brutal threat, widow's epic sacrifice changes everything. You won't believe what happens. In a small, forgotten town where echoes of despair lingered, a chilling confrontation lay hauntingly close. The bank's heavy doors swung open with a creak that seemed to reverberate through the streets, unsettling the tranquility that wrapped the old buildings. She stood there, Lydia Bell, a widow whose weary eyes told stories of loss and an undying spirit. Today, the darkness creeping over her was fueled by desperation. The bank manager, Mr. Green, towered over her like a vengeful giant, his polished shoes clicking ominously against the tile floor. "You have until the end of the month, or your precious home will belong to me," he hissed, every word dripping with malevolence. The townsfolk paused, their whispered gossip mixed with horror as they witnessed the scene. Lydia clenched her fists, a rush of anger and fear mixed in the pit of her stomach. The faded rose on her dress contrasted starkly with the stark anger on her face. What would she do? The air was thick with foreboding. A chilling breeze swept through the street, mingling with the tension, making the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. People turned away, but not before catching the flash of determination in her eyes. What was she planning? Digging deeper into her memories, the image of her late husband flashed vividly. He had sacrificed everything for her happiness. Now, as she faced the bitter reality of greed and indifference, she felt that familiar lump in her throat. She took a shaky breath, ready to fight for the legacy he left behind, the home that had sheltered their love. But just how far was she willing to go? What price would she pay to keep their dreams alive? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With the townspeople's eyes glued to her, Lydia's heart raced. Every pulse echoed her determination, nearly drowning out the sound of the ticking clock behind Mr. Green. It was ticking away her last moments of peace, and fear surged through her veins. Would she surrender to his threats, or would she conjure a fierce storm to fight back? The whispers settled into a heavy silence, questioning whether she truly had a plan. As dusk began to blanket the town, the shadows lengthened, and an unexpected visitor appeared in the alleyway, someone familiar yet cloaked in mystery. What did this new player in her plight want? Her heart pounded. Was this stranger the key to her salvation, or another layer of trouble tangled in her web of despair? The moment hung in the air, drenched with uncertainty, as she faced what was perhaps her ultimate choice, the struggle for her home or the sacrifice of her dignity. The stage was set, the battle lines were drawn. What would Lydia do next? The answer lingered just beyond reach. Lydia's eyes locked onto the figure stepping out from the shadows, her breath hitching. It was Jacob, her husband's old friend. His grizzled face, lined with the weight of years and burdens, had been a comforting presence in happier times. Now, standing in the dim light of the alley, he appeared different, and urgency radiated from him that gripped her. "Lydia!" he called softly, stepping closer. His eyes darted around, ensuring no prying ears lurked nearby. "I heard what Green said. You can't let him win." "What do you know about it, Jacob?" she replied, a sharp edge creeping into her voice. "You don't live here. You don't understand what he can do." "True, but I know that man. He's ruthless. He smells weakness." Jacob's voice trembled slightly. "You've got to fight, Lydia. You can't let him take your home. It's all you have left." 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. The home had been her sanctuary, the final remnant of a love that felt like a lifetime ago. But she couldn't deny the flickering light of hope that Jacob's presence ignited. Still, doubt gnawed at her. What do you want me to do? She asked, the frustration boiling beneath her surface. I can't just snap my fingers and make him disappear. No, but we can outsmart him. Jacob stepped even closer, the urgency in his eyes igniting a fire within her, a fire fueled by desperation, anger, and the will to fight. I have an idea, but it's risky. Lydia felt the weight of the moment crashing upon her. Could she really take risks? But what was left to lose? She had already lost everything she loved. Did she owe it to herself and her husband's memory to take a stand? Tell me, she said, her voice steadier, more confident than it had been moments before. Jacob leaned closer, barely above a whisper. I've heard Green has been busy beyond the walls of the bank. He's tangled with some dangerous people, loan sharks, racketeers. If we could expose him, turn the tables. With her heart pounding in her chest, the possibilities swirled in her mind. Would the path be paved with danger? She thought of the townspeople who had once respected her, and how their eyes had avoided hers during the confrontation. Would they support her if she became a target in the process? If we do this, Lydia, you need to be prepared. Jacob's voice turned serious, the weight of his words settling in. This isn't just about saving your home anymore. It's about survival. She studied him, searching for the truth in his eyes. What was he willing to risk? What was he asking her to do? Maybe it's time to fight fire with fire, she said slowly, feeling resolve harden within her bones. They could be allies in this battle. The thought of reclaiming her life stirred something deep within her. Yet, as she gathered her courage, a chilling realization struck her. What if Green found out? What if they fell into a snare far beyond their understanding? Before she could formulate a plan, a sudden commotion interrupted her thoughts. The sound of raised voices echoed down the street. Curiosity and dread tangled. Lydia strained to listen, heart racing, instincts sharp. They've taken someone. A terrified voice cried out. Who? Jacob whispered, his gaze darting toward the source of the noise. I don't know. But it's bad. Panic rose within her. A chill ran down her spine as she pointed in the direction of the uproar. Something's happening. We need to see. The danger wasn't just lurking quietly anymore, it was out there within grasp. But who had been taken? Why? The stakes were rising, and she could feel the pressure pulsing all around them. With a surge of determination, she grabbed Jacob's arm, ready to plunge into the chaos. Whatever it takes, we find out who's behind this. And once we do, she trailed off, swallowed by the urgency of the moment. She was ready to fight, ready to embrace whatever storm was brewing. Would they uncover hidden truths that could save her home or plunge them deeper into peril? The answers lingered in the shadows, waiting just beyond reach. Lydia pulled Jacob forward, the chaos calling to her like a siren song. They raced toward the commotion, hearts pounding. The cries grew louder, filled with desperation. Shouting voices clashed in a whirlwind of fear, and shadows danced along the walls of the alley. Did you see who took her? Someone screamed. Lydia's breath hitched as she spotted a small crowd. Her heart ached. She had to get closer, had to understand the danger unfolding around her. A woman stood in the center, her arm flailing wildly. They took Sarah. She was just walking home. Lydia's mind raced. Sarah, the sweet girl who helped her in the bakery last summer. No. Panic surged through her. The image of Green's predatory grin flickered in her mind. This could be connected. This was what he did. He terrorized people to control them. Stay here, Jacob murmured, but she shook her head. No. We can't just stand by. We need to do something. As they pushed through the thickening crowd, Lydia felt a pulse of fear and fury striking her heart. She had fought silent battles for too long. It was time to act. From the midst of the crowd, Lydia caught snippets of hushed conversations. Whispers about debts, threats made in dark corners. Green's name surfaced again, spoken with venom. The crowd's urgency solidified her resolve. She couldn't stand idly by anymore, not while lives were in danger. Please. Someone do something. The woman cried again, her screams piercing the air. Lydia stepped forward, clearing her throat, preparing to speak, but a sudden grip on her shoulder stopped her. Lydia. Don't. It was Jacob, his eyes wide with concern. You don't know what you're getting into. Someone has to stand up to him. She turned, her voice fierce. If we do nothing, who will? I won't let fear dictate our lives any longer. With that, she pushed through Jacob's grip, needing to make herself visible. She needed to rally the crowd, to ignite the flicker of hope buried within them. But as she stepped into the light, her heart dropped. Faces had turned toward her, some held confusion, others wore expressions of defeat. What can we do? A whispered plea echoed. I don't know, she admitted, feeling the weight of their stares. But we have to take a stand. If Green is behind this, we can expose him. We can fight for Sarah, and for our neighborhood. A murmur spread through the crowd, apprehension and hope intertwining. Lydia lacked a plan, but her heart throbbed with the possibility of action. It wasn't just about her home, it was about them all reclaiming their lives from Green's grip. Then a flash of movement caught her eye, a dark van idling on the street's edge. Its engine growled like a beast lurking in the shadows, and she recognized the grim face of Green's right-hand man behind the wheel. The chill of dread slithered through her veins. Jacob. She raised her voice, drawing attention. Look. Jacob's head turned, his expression instantly hardening. We need to move people. Now. But just as Lydia thought they might act, the van door swung open. A figure emerged, tall and menacing, an unmistakable silhouette. Green, his presence alone unleashed a wave of collective fear that rippled through the crowd. Looking for someone? He called out, voice smooth and mockingly innocent. The crowd fell silent, and Lydia's stomach dropped. The confrontation loomed before her like a black cloud ready to unleash a storm. The moment of truth had arrived, yet she felt paralyzed. What now? Did she confront him? Would anyone stand by her side? Or was this the beginning of their downfall? As Green's lips curled into a smug smile, she knew the stakes were higher than ever. The time for actions had come, but could she muster the courage she needed? With every nerve in her body screaming for action, she made her choice, ready to defy whatever darkness awaited. The next few moments would decide everything. Would this gamble cost her more than she had ever imagined? Lydia clenched her fists, blood pumping furiously in her ears. Fear clawed at her throat, but she refused to let it silence her. She took a step forward, the shadows from the flickering street lamp casting jagged lines across her face. Let her go. She shouted, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The crowd around her stirred. Some exchanged worried glances, others shifted uneasily, clearly unsure of what to do next. Green turned towards her, amusement sparkling in his eyes. His grin was predatory, a wolf among sheep. You think you can just walk up to me and make demands? He taunted, accentuating his words, as if savoring their weight. You have no idea what you're dealing with, little girl. But Lydia stood firm, drawing strength from the faces around her. You've taken too much from us already. What do you want? Power? Fear? We're done letting you control us. Jacob's hand gripped her arm. Lydia, this isn't the time. He hissed, anxiety painting his face pale. But she pushed him away, feeling an adrenaline high that was both terrifying and liberating. Green stepped closer, cloaked in the menace that curled around him like smoke. It's cute that you think you're in control here. But the only question that remains is, how much do you care for Sarah? Because I assure you, I can make her situation very uncomfortable. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Lydia felt weak from the dread pooling in her stomach. "You're a monster." She spat, every ounce of fear transforming into rage, igniting a fire in her chest. "Monsters are often viewed through a different lens," Green replied smoothly, his eyes locking onto hers, as if the two of them were alone in that moment. "I could be your savior, or your worst nightmare. Depends on how you choose to play this." Silence fell, the tension nearly palpable. Lydia could feel the collective gasp of breath from the crowd behind her, a kaleidoscope of fear and uncertainty swirling in the damp air. "Enough games, Green. Just tell us what you want." Jacob interjected, pushing forward, voice trembling yet firm. His defiance was inspiring, and Lydia couldn't help but feel a tiny surge of hope. Green gave a chuckle that sent shivers crawling down her spine. "Oh, very well. I want what was promised. A little cooperation goes a long way in ensuring your friend's safe return." "What does that even mean?" Lydia's voice was louder now, stronger, fueled by the desperate need to protect Sarah. "Money. Information. I want you to prove that this pathetic little town can keep its house in order. If you manage that, maybe I'll let her go. Simple, right?" He leaned back, a smirk plastered on his face, relishing the chaos brewing around them. The enormity of what he was asking crashed over Lydia like a wave. How could they possibly fight back? But deep down, a determination began to thrive amidst the uncertainty. "Bluffs like this don't hold water," she declared, her voice fierce as she tried to rally the crowd. "Together, we can outsmart him." But Green's laughter sliced through her resolve. "Together? Oh, if only that were true. But I have eyes, and trust me, they tell me a different story. You're all afraid. So tell me, what makes you think that you can confront me when your friend's life hangs in the balance?" Beneath Green's mocking facade, Lydia discerned an unsettling truth. Fear couldn't be their guiding force, they needed a plan, something bold and direct. As she absorbed the weight of his words, anger clawed its way through her veins. It was not just about Sarah anymore, it was about reclaiming their spirit and defiance. She looked around, resolute. "We won't let you take what little we have left." Green's eyes darkened, his smirk faltering. "Then I suggest you find your courage quickly. The longer you wait, the worse this gets. And just remember, I know where to find you." He stepped back, retreating to the van, but the looming threat of his presence clung in the air like smoke. With the car door slamming shut, it felt like the world had taken a deep breath, holding on to the tension before it broke free. Lydia turned to the crowd, urgency burning in her chest. "Who will stand with me?" she cried out, desperately searching for allies among the bewildered faces. Would they stand against Green, risk everything for Sarah? In that moment, she didn't know the answer. But she felt the weight of something shifting, the first stirrings of rebellion kindling within them. As the van pulled away into the night, rumors of power and whispers of danger echoed around her. Would they band together and fight? Or would they fold under pressure, allowing Green to suffocate their hopes once again? The next chapter of their battle had just begun, and Lydia realized she was more determined than ever to pave a path through the darkness, even if it led her into the heart of Green's chaos. What were they truly willing to risk for each other? The stakes were rising, and so was Lydia's resolve. The night air felt heavy, thick with unspoken fears and whispers of uncertainty. Lydia's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins like wildfire. She scanned the crowd, faces bathed in the sickly yellow glow of the street lamp, each one reflecting a mix of dread and disbelief. How can you stand there, just watching? She couldn't keep the frustration from her voice. We need to do something. A few in the crowd exchanged glances, uncertainty etched deeply into their expressions. Someone muttered, "What if Green comes back? What if he's lying?" "I'll go." A voice broke through the tension. It was Marissa, her neighbor, an older woman with gray-streaked hair and determination burning in her eyes. "We can't let fear rule us. I know this town better than he does. We can gather what we need, figure it out. Lydia felt a flicker of hope but quickly snuffed it out. What can we do with no plan? We can't just hope he'll keep his word. This is Green we're talking about. Then we make a plan, together. Jacob chimed in, clenching his fists, eyes fierce. We gather what we know, who he's working with. We start piecing things together, find his weaknesses. That's right. Marissa continued, her voice growing stronger. We're not alone here. We can fight against his threats. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, a spark igniting the fear that had paralyzed them moments before. Lydia took a deep breath. The weight of their lives and the lives of their loved ones depended on their next steps. As they discussed potential action, her mind raced. Where could they find Green's vulnerabilities? What did he even want besides fear? Money? Information? The town had its secrets, and she was certain they could leverage them if only they could focus. Let us meet back here in an hour, Lydia commanded, her voice firm. Bring anything you can think of, old records, evidence, anything that might give us an edge. But remember, we have to be careful. Green will have eyes everywhere. With that, the crowd started dispersing, the energy shifting from despair to determination. Lydia watched them go, her heart pounding with a tumultuous mix of fear for Sarah and a newfound sense of urgency. The world around her felt surreal as she made her way home. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, and every crack of a branch sent her heart racing again. She needed to be smarter than Green, to think like him. Once in her empty house, she locked the door and paced the small living room. The walls felt closer than ever, suffocating her thoughts. What if they failed? What if they brought Green's wrath down on them instead of pulling together strength? Then she stopped, her breath hitching in her throat. There was something, the old journal her father had kept, notes scribbled about the town's past dealings. Green's threats were about power, but Lydia remembered something buried deep in those notes, a scandal involving Green's father decades ago, one their families had forgotten. She rushed to her father's study, digging through the papers with trembling hands. Could it be that goldmine of information was the key? Her heart raced as she flipped through the aging pages. Just as she found a crucial entry, a loud bang erupted outside, followed by the unmistakable sound of tires skidding on gravel. Lydia froze, every instinct screaming for her to hide. Was it Green? The van? Had they already come for her? Panic clawed at her chest, but it was the sound of her resolve shattering. What would she do now? The flickering lights outside caught her eye, shadows moving, and the air felt electric with dread. She knew she had to make a choice. Fight or run? As she made her decision, the front door burst open. Lydia's heart sank, knowing this moment would change everything. Who had come for her? And more importantly, what would happen next? The door flew open with a crash, and Lydia's breath caught in her throat. The figure standing in the doorway was not Green. It was Jacob, his face pale and eyes wide with urgency. Lydia, he gasped, stumbling inside, slamming the door behind him. We have to get out of here. What? Why? What happened? Lydia's voice trembled, the weight of panic flooding her chest. She barely registered the way his hands were shaking, fingers twitching nervously. They're coming, he blurted out. I saw the van. They're searching the neighborhood. We don't have time. Her mind raced. The van. The rumors swirling about Green's associates. Fear coiled tightly around her heart. Did they see you? I don't think so. We've got a little time, but we can't wait. We need to warn the others, he said, glancing back toward the window. They'll go after anyone who tries to stand against Green. We can't just sit here. Lydia's thoughts spun. Her instincts screamed for safety, but the thought of leaving everyone behind ignited a fire deep inside. No, I need to gather the journal. There's something in it, something that can help us. Jacob's eyes were pleading. "Lydia, please. If we stay, they will find us. That journal isn't worth your life." The urgency swirled around them like a whirlwind, but Lydia felt an unyielding pull toward the papers she had uncovered, clues that could turn the tide in their favor, a lifeline for their fight. "I can't just run away, Jacob. This isn't just about me. It's about all of us." He shook his head, frustration boiling in his voice. "Then take it with you. But we need to go now." With a reluctant nod, Lydia darted back to the study, heart pounding in her ears. Her fingers scrambled through the pages until she gripped the journal, its aged cover somehow reassuring. It could be the weapon they needed against Green. "Got it!" she shouted as she returned to the living room, tossing the journal into a bag. "Let us go." They rushed toward the back door, but as Jacob slipped outside, Lydia hesitated. The moment stretched, filled with the electric hum of danger lurking close, a fear she had never felt before gnawing at the edges of her sanity. "What if they're waiting for us? What if Green knows?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Jacob took her shoulders, urgency like an anchor in a storm. "He might know, but what if we stay? The longer we wait, the more chance he has to find us first. We have to take that risk. We can't lose anyone else." Sarah, right. The mention of her best friend sharpened Lydia's resolve like a knife. Sarah was counting on them. "Let us go." They stepped into the swirling darkness outside, shadows creeping and whispering. The streetlights flickered like shriveling candles as they moved carefully down the narrow street. The air was thick with tension, every sound amplified, the rustle of leaves, the crack of distant thunder, the uncertainty of every step. Suddenly, sirens blared, slicing through the night like a jagged knife. Their hearts leaped as they ran, pounding down the asphalt, desperate for safety. The van was closer now, powerful headlights bouncing off the shadowy walls of houses, illuminating unoccupied lawns. "Over there." Jacob pointed toward an alley, barely visible but cloaked in darkness. "We can cut through." Without thinking, they darted into the alley. The scent of damp earth stung their nostrils, and their breath came in short, panicked bursts. Just as they reached the other side, the sound of tires screeching against pavement erupted behind them. Lydia's stomach twisted, and dread washed over her. They were not safe yet. Green's men were relentless. As they emerged onto the next street, Lydia felt a momentary surge of hope. But just ahead, shadows loomed, figures with menacing shapes. But were they friends or more threats? "Are those?" Jacob whispered, squinting into the darkness. "Wait." Lydia's heart hammered yet again. They had to decide, confront them or retreat. But before she could choose, a voice called out from the depths of the dark. Her blood ran cold as she recognized it. "Lydia? Jacob? Is that you?" The moment froze as they turned, hearts pounding in sync. Who was here, and what did they want? Had they just walked into a trap, or were they about to discover something that would change everything? Lydia's breath caught in her throat as the voice echoed through the darkness. It was unmistakable. Sarah. Relief and dread battled within her as she stepped forward into the faint light, scanning the shadows for her friend's form. "Is it really you?" she called out, trembling with uncertainty, one foot still poised to retreat. "Lydia." "Jacob." Sarah materialized, her face pale but determined. In her eyes, Lydia caught a flicker of the fiery resilience they'd always shared. But before she could reach her, two men lunged from the darkness behind Sarah, rough and intimidating, their silhouettes breaking any illusion of safety. "Get down!" Jacob shouted, instinctively pushing Lydia behind him as he stepped forward, shielding her with his body. "What are you doing here?" Lydia demanded, fear laced through her voice as the world outside seemed to hold its breath, waiting. "They're looking for you," Sarah gasped, her eyes darting to the men who were now closing in. "I tried to stop them," but before she could finish, one of the men seized Sarah's arm, twisting it painfully. "Come with us, or we'll make sure you regret it," he snarled, eyes glinting with malice. "No!" Jacob shouted, lunging forward, but Lydia grabbed his elbow, a frantic look sparking between them. "Wait!" she said, glancing at Sarah, whose expression was a mix of fear and stubbornness. "Do you know who they are? Just go!" Sarah cried, battling against the grip that pulled her backward. "They're working with Green." Lydia's mind raced, the journal weighing heavily in her bag. It held the truth about Green's dealings, the secrets that could expose him, but at what cost? "Lydia," Jacob urged, his voice strained. "We can't leave her." But as her heart raced against her ribcage, Lydia was torn. Did she risk all their lives for one rescue mission, or take that crucial information to safety? "Let her go," Lydia demanded, summoning every ounce of bravery she could muster. "You don't want to do this." The man holding Sarah laughed, revealing crooked teeth. "Oh, we very much do want to do this. You hold the journal, don't you?" The words hit her like thunder. They knew. "No!" she yelled, shock registering in her body. She could feel a surge of anger rising within her, battling the overwhelming fear. "Let her go!" Jacob shouted again, making a move toward Sarah. But the second man stepped in, blocking his path, towering over him like a wall of flesh. "Make your choice, Lydia." The first man leaned closer, whispering in a voice that was both chilling and taunting. "You can save her now, or you can keep that journal. You know what it contains. It's your call." Lydia's thoughts spiraled. The knowledge nestled in her bag could bring Green down, but it also meant sacrificing Sarah. "Lydia, please," Sarah pleaded, her eyes wide and shimmering with despair. "Don't let them take me." Panic clawed at Lydia's insides, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. She glanced from Sarah to Jacob and back again. The clock was ticking, and their fate hung in the balance. "Enough!" The voice thundered from behind them, echoing off the alley walls. Lydia turned, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she faced the looming figure. Green himself stood there, sinister and triumphant, a smirk dancing on his lips. Now, he purred, stepping forward, eyes fixated on the journal's bulge beneath Lydia's arm. "Fun is just beginning." How utterly delightful, but let us make things interesting. Lydia's heart raced a frenzied beat. Was there a way out? Did the journal really hold the power she believed? But Green's smirk widened as the realization dawned on her they were trapped, and the stakes were higher than ever. "Choose wisely," he said, his voice dark and dripping with malice. "Or lose everything you hold dear." The looming threat hung in the air like a loaded gun, and as the tension surged, Lydia's mind raced for an escape. What would she sacrifice to change everything? Was the journal worth it if Sarah's life was on the line? In that chaotic moment, with danger closing in, Lydia took a deep breath, ready to make the choice that could alter their fates forever. Would she confront Green, or would she risk everything for her friend? Lydia's heart hammered in her chest as Green's menacing gaze bore into her, the weight of his expectation pressing down like a vice. "Choose, Lydia." His voice dripped with condescension, reveling in the power he wielded. She could see it in his eyes, a twisted thrill as he watched her struggle, a predator savoring the tension before the kill. Desperation clawed at her. "If I give you the journal, you'll let her go?" The question hung in the air, fraught with desperation and the desperate hope for a deal. "Well, aren't you optimistic?" Green chuckled darkly, stepping closer, the smell of his cologne souring in the narrow space. "But you know I can't make promises, dear. Enhancing one's own fate is more corrupt than altruistic." He gestured toward Sarah, held firm by the second goon, her eyes wide with fear and the unmistakable glimmer of trust. Lydia felt torn between saving her friend and the potential wrath of Green. That journal was their lifeline, their weapon against Green's empire of lies. "Lydia," Jacob broke through her chaotic thoughts, stepping closer. You can't trust him. We get her out, then we can figure the rest out later. His voice was direct, solid, a tether in the storm. Jacob, Lydia's words faltered as anger surged from deep inside, feeding off her fear. What had she gotten them into? All the hours spent digging, uncovering secrets now weighed heavily. But what was the point of knowing the truth if they didn't survive to see Green brought to justice? Green watched her with calculating eyes, missing nothing, his lips forming a smug grin. Tick-tock, Lydia. Choose quickly. Or perhaps I'll choose for you. Let her go. Lydia shouted, raising her voice in determination. Anger coursed through her veins. She wouldn't let them take Sarah. Before she could react, Green waved his hand, signaling his men. Why don't we give her a taste of the consequences? Lydia screamed as the bigger thug slammed Sarah against the wall, twisting her arm tighter. A sharp gasp escaped Sarah's lips, and despair washed over Lydia like cold water. Stop. It tore from Lydia raw and frantic. I'll give you the journal. Just let her go. Green's eyes lit up with cruel delight. Finally, a reasonable approach. I knew you had it in you. He stepped back, a predatory confidence in his stance. All right, hand it over. And get her out of here. Lydia's hands trembled as she reached into her bag. The journal felt like a weighty anchor tethered to her soul. Would handing it over undo everything they worked for? Her fingers brushed the worn leather, and her pulse quickened. Don't do it, Lydia. Jacob warned, eyes wide and pleading. Think of everything we could lose. In that instant, reality shattered around her. Each second nagged at her conscience, the choice looming like a specter. You'll protect her, right? You promise? Green stepped in closer, a mocking smile plastered across his face. I can assure you, Lydia. You'll find I'm a man of my word in my own twisted way. Drawing a deep breath, Lydia pulled the journal from her bag, feeling its familiar weight shift in her fingers. She steadied herself, knowing this moment could shape everything. Here. She threw it at Green, watching as he snatched it up, his face lighting with victory. Now, let her go. As the thug released Sarah, the world shifted. Jacob lunged to Sarah's side, but as the same man stepped toward Lydia, his expression suddenly changed. Now, what was that? Green snapped, snapping his attention back to the street. A sudden noise rose from the alley's mouth, a crush of footsteps, an unusual commotion. What's happening? Lydia's stomach dropped. It wasn't over. Confusion swept through the air, an unsettling vibe that turned her heart into lead. Run! Jacob yelled, pulling Sarah along as panic erupted in the shadows. The thug scrambled, eyes darting. Green turned, frustration lining his features as chaos unfolded. Lydia took one last glance at the villain who toyed with their lives. The tension in the alley thickened, the sudden approach of unknown forces forcing their hands, but who was coming? And would escape even be possible? The unexpected sound of voices and heavy boots echoed louder, drawing closer. Was it salvation or another layer of danger? Get out of here! Jacob shouted again, spurring her to move. Lydia's instincts screamed at her to run. She wasn't sure if they had a chance, but one thing was clear: they were caught in a web that was going to snap either way. With adrenaline surging, they tore into the darkness, the shadows swallowing them, one question echoing in Lydia's mind as they fled: who was hunting them now, and what would it cost them to survive? The adrenaline pulsed through Lydia's veins as she sprinted beside Jacob. Sarah desperately clutched under Jacob's arm. The echo of heavy boots bounced off the alley walls, an ominous reminder that they were not yet safe. Keep moving, Jacob urged, pushing them forward. His voice was a lifeline, snapping her back to reality. They zigzagged through the twisting backstreets, each corner they turned feeling like it could lead to freedom or betrayal, behind them, a shout rang out, sharp and authoritative. "Stop!" Lydia's heart raced. Who would treat them like this? They were caught in a game that was much larger than they had anticipated, and Green's grip extended far beyond just his thugs. A sinking feeling rose in her gut, realizing the stakes were way higher. They ducked into the doorway of an unmarked building. Lydia pressed her back against the door, catching her breath. She could barely hear the chaos outside. It felt like the calm before a storm. Jacob peered through the small, grimy window, his expression dark. "What now?" he asked, urgency hanging in the air like smoke. I don't know." Her mind raced, replaying the events leading to this moment. The journal was gone. It was their secret weapon, a tangled web of truths that could bring down Green. And now, the man had it. "We need to get it back." "Are you insane?" Jacob hissed, lowering his voice but filled with passionate outrage. "We just handed it over. You think going back is a good idea?" Lydia felt the weight of his words. What good was justice without courage? "It's the only way," she replied, more to herself than him. "They can't just have it. They'll destroy everything, us included." "How do you plan on getting it back?" "Green's men are everywhere." The door rattled, a reminder of their vulnerability. "We can't stay here," Lydia said firmly. "We need to find help. Someone who knows Green's game, maybe someone in the system who can turn things around." Before Jacob could respond, the door behind them burst open. A figure framed in the threshold, a silhouette against the chaos lurking outside. Lydia stepped back, heart thumping painfully against her ribcage. "Get down." The voice cut through her fear, sharp, crisp, like a blade drawn against a midnight sky. It was a woman, dressed in dark tactical gear, her face set with fierce determination. Lydia's eyes widened. "Who are you?" "They sent me to find you," the woman replied, glancing back toward the street. "You're in a mess deeper than you realize. Green isn't the only player in this game." "Sent you?" Jacob said, skepticism sharpening his tone. "By who?" "Enough questions," she snapped. "We don't have much time. We have to move before they catch up. Your targets now, and Green won't stop until he gets what he wants." Lydia felt a mix of relief and trepidation. This wasn't a stranger. They were being handed a lifeline she hadn't expected. "You know Green?" "Of course, I do. And if you want to fight back, you need to trust me," the woman said, urgency filling her voice. The weight of Lydia's situation settled heavily. Green's threat had morphed into something much larger than her small group fighting for justice. But could they trust this woman? "Who are you?" Lydia pressed again, needing reassurance. "Not important. I'm here to help. Time is running out. Follow me." They exchanged hesitant glances, their resistance wavering. "Fine," Jacob finally relented. "Lead the way." As they stepped through the door and into the night, Lydia's heart pounded, a mix of hope and fear surging. The hunt was no longer about saving Sarah, it was about survival, and the battle had only just begun. With no idea what awaited them, and whether they could trust this newfound ally, she wondered, what more was at stake? And who would emerge from the shadows with the journal still beyond their reach? The chaos outside had settled into a heavy silence, leaving Lydia more uneasy than ever. She followed the woman, her instincts painfully alert. They navigated through the dark alleyways, the air thick with uncertainty, as Jacob kept close to her side, eyes scanning their surroundings with palpable tension. "Do you have a name?" Lydia finally asked, breaking the oppressive silence. "Call me Mara," the woman replied, her tone brisk. "And we don't have time for small talk. Green's men are already mobilizing." She led them into an abandoned building, its walls peeling, hidden away from streetlights, an inconspicuous shelter in the night's turmoil. Inside, old furniture lay cast aside like relics of forgotten lives. Shadows hung heavy in the corners. "Why are you helping us?" Jacob asked, suspicion laced in his voice. "Because I believe in fighting back against men like Green. We'll fight on the right side of this mess if we work together." Mara's resolve was clear, igniting a spark of hope within Lydia. "Do you know where he has taken the journal?" Lydia pressed, her heart quickening as she thought about how close they were to unraveling Green's web of lies. "It's in a safe house. He thinks it's secure, but he's mistaken." Mara's eyes glimmered in the dim light as she glanced at Lydia. "If we play this right, we can outmaneuver him while his focus is on containing the aftermath of tonight." Lydia nodded, absorbing her words and the flicker of determination in her chest. "What's our plan?" Mara outlined the approach. "We create a diversion. His men will rush to protect the safe house, while we slip in. You'll need to be stealthy, the fewer people who know, the better. We'll get the journal and get out." "And just like that, it's over?" Jacob questioned, voicing the doubt Lydia felt. "What about Green? He won't let this go." Mara's gaze hardened. "This isn't just about the journal anymore. This is about showing him we're not afraid and will fight. We hold the power as a community." Lydia's chest tightened, the weight of the plan pressing upon her. She was terrified, but she knew it was now or never. "Then let us do it." They met in the shadowy corners of the building, exchanging ideas and gathering what they needed. With every passing moment, the weight of the mission settled heavily on Lydia's shoulders, but determination flickered in her heart like a flame refusing to die out. When the hour neared for their covert operation, adrenaline surged through her veins. They crouched near a broken window, watching for signs of Green's men. Suddenly, muffled voices echoed beyond the walls. Hushed urgency filled the space. Lydia felt a lump rise in her throat. This was it. "On my mark," Mara said, her voice steady yet urgent. Lydia's heart raced as she felt the thrill of electricity crackle in the air. "Now!" Mara shouted, and chaos erupted as they made their break, darting across the alleyway toward the safe house. They scrambled behind crumbling crates, heartbeats loud in their ears. One wrong move and all could be lost. Lydia's breath came quick, her mind reeling with the weight of what they were trying to achieve. Every shadow loomed large, and every creak felt deafening. As they approached the safe house, tensions thickened. Green's thugs were already moving positions. The rear door was unguarded. What luck! When they slipped inside, Lydia's heart thundered as they found themselves in a cramped hallway, shadows clinging to the walls. "There!" Jacob hissed, pointing to a door at the far end. Without a second thought, they pushed forward, hope and fear entwined. Lydia turned the handle slowly, and the door creaked open. Inside, a dim light flickered over the scattered papers and the very journal they'd been fighting for. But as she stepped forward, her breath caught. Green's laughter echoed off the walls, booming and filled with malice. "You thought you could sneak in here so easily?" The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Lydia spun around just in time to see Green's men closing in on them, smirking, eyes glimmering. Panic surged through her as they fell into a trap, and then, just as hope threatened to slip away, something unexpected happened. From the shadows, figures emerged, townsfolk they thought had lost faith. The crowd surged forward, determination sparking in their eyes. "We're not going back," someone shouted. Lydia's heart soared as she realized they weren't alone. They'd rallied together for one purpose, to take down Green. This was the depth of community and unity, a fight against the darkness. With newfound courage, Lydia shouted, "Let us take back our lives." In that moment, everything converged: their collective strength, the desire to reclaim their home, the will to confront fear. The battle ignited like an explosion, and Lydia stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. With Sarah and Jacob beside her, with the townsfolk rallying for justice, Lydia knew they had a chance to change everything. As fists flew and voices melded into a roar, Lydia pushed through the chaos, each heartbeat echoing a promise. They would fight, they would take back what was theirs, and they wouldn't stop until Green's reign of terror was over. The adversities may have felt insurmountable, but within the storm, they had found each other, and together, they could change everything. Now here's the moment you've been waiting for. This is the time to show your support like never before. You need to subscribe now so you never miss out on our exclusive content. Smash that like button. Your support feeds the algorithm and helps us reach more amazing souls like you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Let us hear what you think about this incredible journey, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. The power lies in our community. Let us spread the love and fight together.